All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 8 of the Sports and Nothing Else podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jesse, and Kyle. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I am really full of Antonios right now, and currently am the worst host in the entire world as I have family in town, and our house is under renovations. We took a wall down this week, so there's literally nowhere for anyone to be, and I kicked everyone out of a room to do a podcast. So
cool. So you're like
You're
the
welcome.
anti-Trump. You're taking walls down instead of putting them up.
Yes.
All right. Well, I had some artwork commissioned. My daughters have been coloring, and you can see this one here. This is Kate's family portrait, and it's a very scary situation, but it's also very cute because it's a 3-year-old. And I should shout out the little guy in the left-hand corner. That's Andrew, who works for me, who was a listener of the podcast. So, and I told him to tune in this week for multiple reasons. So, but yeah, our sister is in town at your house, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
We saw them a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. So yeah, awesome. And Austin, her husband. So between the two of them, they're the two best probably Bachman family members, if we're being honest. So that's just the way it goes. All right. Something piqued our interest this week. The Score, which is an app that we both use that works about 40% of the time, had an all-time sports video game bracket, and it made us think about the games that we have loved playing. So I don't care how you attack this, but give me some thoughts or however you want to segue into this.
So I thought it was really interesting because I feel like I played like 90% of these games growing
Same.
up. Anywhere from Mario Tennis to NBA Jam and NHL 94, which I did not obviously play when I was 4 years old, but there were some awesome ones on there. And I didn't really like how they set up the bracket because they had a couple games that faced off against each other in the very first round that I would have voted really, really far on. For instance, MLB, the Ken Griffey Jr. winning run against, what was it even? MVP Baseball 2005, which to me are the two best baseball games ever made.
Yeah.
And they're facing off in the first round. But there were some blasts from the past that I thought were awesome. I mean, backyard baseball, I miss backyard baseball. And it's still going on. You can get on there and vote and be super excited.
I voted twice in the second round. So
yeah. So do you want to run through the third round real quick, and we can do our picks live and argue about them?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So this is the semifinals. We got the 4 seed NBA Jam against the number 1 seed NHL 94. I'm going NBA Jam.
It's going to be the third time I'm voting in this round.
All right. Well, we're doing it again. NBA Jam.
Listen, I know people love NHL 94, but I could care less about hockey. So it's NBA Jam for me. Thoughts?
All right. We got.
Oh, hot take. I think NBA Street Volume 2 for PlayStation 2 is a better game than NBA Jam. That's all.
I think it's the best basketball game ever made.
I think it's awesome. Plus, it's got great music. All right, go ahead. Next one.
All right, we got Madden 2004, which is arguably the best Madden. It's been all downhill since then, against FIFA 10, which is the exact same, where it's been all downhill with FIFA. I never was really a big FIFA guy, and my friends were, and they just smoked me. So I'm going Madden 2004.
Yeah, same issue, always. So yeah, Madden 2004 and the NCAA game that went with it, which is a game that me and my college roommates played dynasties on forever, and broke a lot of controllers together, especially Andy Paulin. It's any EA Sports 04, 05 games. That was like the sweet spot. So that's for me.
To me, the sweet spot of Madden is anywhere from 01 to 04, 05, and you could juke like half the screen in these games. Like Eddie George is moving from hash to hash, just like teleporting. It's the best.
Yes. We had the blue Madden 2001 cartridge for N64, and we played the tar out of that game.
Oh yeah,
that was the best. Those were the days. All right. Well,
I didn't realize.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go.
Just to say, I didn't realize it was literally only 3 picks, and we're now done with the semifinals. But there were some games. The one game that I did think was missing was MLB The Show, probably 13 or 14. I mean, the first time that the show came out was completely different and was amazing. Played that game so much growing up. Probably the best baseball game ever made, if you're not counting MVP 2005.
Which people still play with updated rosters because
you can still download them.
I had some other ones to add to this. We had super sneaky, underrated High Heat Baseball for PS2, which was a great game. High Heat 03, 04. Plus, they had great transactions, which Kyle really loved.
Loved it.
So yeah. By the way, the Super Nintendo game that got beat by MLB 2005 is the original Ken Griffey game, which is a much more realistic version of baseball and frustrating, also without rosters. My favorite was Ken Griffey's winning run, which was the next one that came, which was a little less realistic. The guys look like cartoon characters, and Griffey, if you play with the Mariners, just hit bombs. Some other ones, Mario Tennis was on here. Mario Tennis is incredible. That was a great game. I also broke some controllers because of that game. Super Tecmo Bowl with Bo Jackson has to be mentioned in these, just because it just kill everyone. And I did have NFL Blitz, which I loved. I played so much NFL Blitz. So those are the games I wanted to mention in addition. And then were there any Tiger Woods golf games on there? Maybe
I think there was one.
I mean, I didn't really care about those games, but those are like the OG golf games. It was incredible. So
that and Mario Golf. Mario Golf was great.
Mario Golf was great, but I preferred Mario Tennis because golf, I don't care. But I did have a kid. I work in children's ministry. We have Bibles that we've had up where we work forever called the Green Bible that they all usually get the OG Bible this week. So that was interesting. That's all. It's full story time. Anything else you want to add about sports video games growing up?
I think that's all I got.
Okay. And then GoldenEye, which isn't really a sports game, but it should be mentioned anyways. That's all.
It's hunting.
That's it. Yeah. Humans. The most dangerous game.
Beat me to it.
All right. Do you have any animal facts for us this week? We haven't even talked about sports yet. That's great.
Yeah, so we're going to be 20 minutes in without mentioning a single sport. That's real. I'm going to go back to crow facts. And I was trying to remember if I've told you about this one yet or if I mentioned it on a podcast. Did I mention anything about the crows saving a family member's item? No? Okay. So this guy did an interview with this girl who had all these trinkets that these crows have given to her over the years. And this family has fed the crows for probably 5 to 7 years, I think. And they noticed that the crows started coming back and they would bring them like shiny things or things that the crows deemed as items of value. And they were like buttons or weird little bones or paper clips or something along those lines. So they realized that the crows were literally trying to say thanks for, they had like this watermelon station and a corn station. And I actually started a chia seed station this week because we saw a couple crows hanging out and they ate my chia seeds. So I'm waiting for like a $30 gold nugget or something at some point. But they didn't realize that the crows actually knew who they were and were literally watching out for them across like the entire town. So they knew they would kind of watch them if they were at their house and wait for some food or something. But they were taking a picture on this bridge and the camera lens fell off and it fell over the side of the bridge and down to a place where it wouldn't have been safe for them to try to get it. So they chalked it up as a lost cause. They get home the next day and the camera lens is sitting where all the little gifts are normally sitting. So the crows were literally watching them across town, saw that they lost something that the humans deemed valuable, and they brought it back to them. So I thought that was really cool.
Wow. I thought at the beginning you were going to say this guy interviewed a crow, and I thought that was incredible, but this might actually be more incredible. All right. That's amazing.
I thought that was wild.
All right. Well, we're going to be heavy sports at the end, but we're going to do things we hate now. I listen, the crow facts are my favorite part of the podcast every week. So I now have 2 things we hate because something happened to me tonight that I wanted to add. So go ahead, start with your thing.
So mine is actually sports related that I hate, and I hate instant replay in sports. I absolutely despise it. It's got to go. In fact, even if we get calls wrong, like you remember the Saints game the other year with the egregious pass interference, which is what basically brought NFL replay into the mainstream for calls like that. I hate it. If you watch NBA games this year, the last 2 minutes, you don't have to use a coach's challenge. So every single call, you get the guys going like this, and it makes me want to throw LeBron into the lake. It's truly the worst. And it makes the last 2 minutes of a game probably 30 minutes long. Sometimes. And you're already struggling to get people to tune in and actually watch an entire NBA game, much less try to watch an entire MLB game. And I'm a huge baseball fan. I don't think I've actually sat down and watched an entire baseball game this year, much less consistently watching an entire NBA game. It's really, really frustrating. I'd rather calls not be 100% correct and actually move forward. I mean, the biggest issue is that we're having, especially with baseball, is that the games are way, way, way too long as they are. Why would we delay this, especially when it's not even being decided by the umpire that's then going to review the
No,
call? It's
crazy.
getting shipped off, and they're
It
still not
should
even
already
getting
have
things
a
right.
decision should have been made before those umpires put those headphones on. They should go over to hear the decision that has already been made. Like most of those calls are makeable right away.
Yep.
And like the problem we've gotten into, and this is not you're probably gonna say this, but like the spirit of it is messed up. Like on a double play ball, if a shortstop doesn't actually clip the base, like you shouldn't be able to review that. If they got close to the base, for the protection of everyone involved, that should be enough. If the ball, like you get blocked, but then the ball like last rolls off your middle finger, like everybody knows in a pickup game or any kind of basketball game, like that ball stays with the offense. But now that we have such good cameras, you can slow it down to a millisecond. Oh, well, it like, come on, this is stupid. And it's terrible. And basketball is such a rhythm game, and when you remove the rhythm from it, it's just disjointed. I think we get worse shots. I think we get worse offense. And in baseball, if you've ever pitched, like standing out there for 10 minutes is a disaster for a pitcher. So it's bad. I'm with you.
It's the worst.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. And I think it's made refs worse because like you'll see fumbles in football and they'll just like let it go, even though the guy was clearly down, because it's like, well, if it's a turnover, we can go look at it, but if we call it down and he actually wasn't, then someone's got to use a challenger. If they're out of challenges, whatever. It's bad.
Yep.
Good. I'm glad you've already gotten me riled up because I got lots to say tonight.
All right, go for it.
All right, I'm going to start with the easier one. This is in all walks of life, but I hate when people feign ignorance when they're trying to take advantage of somebody. Like tonight, I put up for auction a card that's worth between $1,000 and $2,000. It's an expensive card. Everybody knows it's really valuable, right? It's not like a question. And a guy emailed me and said, "Hey, will you take $150 for it?" And I was like, "No, you're way low on that, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "I don't think so. What would be an acceptable amount?" And I had already told him I wasn't going to stop the auction. And this guy's just trying to like take advantage of a situation. So if you're one of those people, don't do that. Don't be like that. All right, now for my real one this week. Get ready. I am fired up about this. So I have 3 kids. You know this. I think our listeners probably know this. They're sweet kids. Parenting is hard. I'd like to say that off the top. It is the hardest thing I've ever done, I think. It's the best thing I think I've ever done also, but it's the hardest. It's really hard. And when you work a lot and then you still have to be a present parent, I understand all that, okay? But here's the deal. I was at Sam's Club the other day picking up stuff for my job. It's probably a girl that's 18 months to 2 years old, sitting in a shopping cart. Do you know what's interesting to a kid that age? Literally everything. You can make anything fun for a kid that age. And this kid has got a phone and is just staring at the phone while her mom is pushing her around Sam's. This is egregious, okay? That same night, I go to pick up some takeout. I walk by IHOP, or IHOB, if you will, and there is in there a family of 4. This happens all the time when we used to go to restaurants when there wasn't a pandemic. The parents are sitting there, and their 2 kids are on tablets playing. Like, listen, do a modicum of research, just a little bit, as to what that's doing to your little kids' brains. It is terrible. I know parenting is hard. I know you work. You don't want to deal with your kids. But like, family time is important. You chose to have the kids. In very few instances are kids not somewhat planned in a family setting like that. You have to raise the kind of kids that will become the kind of adults that won't screw over our entire world. You've got to care enough to get a screen out of your kids' hands and talk to them when you go out to dinner. With an 18-month-old, you can make a Sam's Club trip into like the greatest 30 minutes of their life, even though Sam's Club to adults is soul-sucking and terrible. Like, the effect that tablets have on kids' brains, young kids, is similar to the effect that cocaine has on adults' brains. Now, granted, the side effects of the like actual drugs you don't get, but it is that addictive to little kids. and it is forming their brain in a way that doesn't allow them to mature the right way. Like, get it together. You chose to have the kids. We all know it's hard and we all need breaks and all of that, but I can't take it anymore. It's just unacceptable. You've got to find a better way forward as parents than to just hand a kid a tablet. Like, we listen to the Bill Simmons podcast, and him and Sal talk about Sal just like there's like 4 or 5 hours on screens a day. You're not raising productive kids that way, and we need productive people. There are employers who can't find people to work because they just want to sit on screens. Kyle has this issue. I'm lucky. I have a really amazing staff. It's an anomaly. People talk to me about it all the time. It's young people who care about other people. It's really great. So anyhow, the pandemic has been hard on all of us. We've been trapped inside the house with our kids for 14 months now, but find a way to get them interested in something other than a screen. Please, for the sake of all humanity, do it. Okay, I'm done. Anything you want to add on that? You want to stay?
Well, as someone with a wealth of knowledge of raising kids, I do have to say that I made it with my child through 21, and they have not used a single screen yet. So he's doing pretty well. Might have ADD, but he's doing great. Yeah. I do also have to say, when you said that you were going to talk about hating screens, that I thought you were taking the sports angle there, and we were going to be talking about setting screens. But
more ISO. I love ISO.
Please, a little more James Harden.
Yeah, actually, I figured out we're going to have, because Kyle and I are going to be together in 2 weeks for this podcast. We'll share this kitchen table here at my house. We're going to call up my dad, and we're going to do our top 10 NBA players of all time and argue about it.
Ooh.
And that's one of the things. I think the problem is all three of us see the NBA in the same way, and there are going to be people left out that our peers are going to freak out about. Kobe Bryant is one of them, at least from my list. And it's just the way I like basketball to be played. I hated the way he played. So anyhow, we're moving on. Again, speaking ill of the dead, it's not great. Okay. The draft happened a full 7 days ago, so this is really current. But do you have anything you wanted to say in reference to what happened in the draft?
One, the 49ers surprised a lot of people, I think.
Right.
I kind of like the Trey Lance pick because he's got the mentor in Garoppolo. You don't have to move on from him right away. You don't have to throw him right in. And the best analogy that I've found for this, and I think this really applies the more I've researched as far as successful NFL quarterbacks taken in the first round and what situations they went into, it's just like a normal job. I mean, if I took a new job in a new career that I may be familiar with the industry, but I'm not familiar with the actual position, if I'm going to start and the guy that I'm replacing is there for a month to 2 months and can train me and walk me through, and I'm not learning on my own and making my own mistakes and not having anyone to correct me and guide me along, I might fail. I might get discouraged. I might struggle for a while, and I'll probably figure it out if I'm good enough at that position at some point. But it's going to be some serious learning curves, and I may ruin and make some really bad habits along the way. Whereas if I have that guiding hand and someone that's really good and that actually cares and takes the time, you're really much more likely to be set up for success. So I think Aaron Rodgers was a great example of that, in that he didn't come in and immediately start and have no one to kind of guide him through the ropes. So I think this could be a great situation for the 49ers and Trey Lance. And yeah, I like that pick. I also like the Falcons pick at number 4. Kyle Pitts is the best non-quarterback in this draft in my opinion. So I like that pick. And then we did nail the Pats and Mac Jones, or Max Jones, if we want to call him that.
Max. We did text about that on draft night, old Max. I mean, I wrote down, if Mac Jones is good, I will fight all those teams that did in front of the Patriots. I cannot watch more Patriots juggernaut, but to me, he's like a worse Matt Ryan, which is who the Ringer compared him to. We'll see. But at 15, that's a pretty good value. And, I mean, Lance is either a home run or a complete whiff. And I think that's kind of what you want to do if you don't get the best guy on the board, which is Lawrence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other thing with Mac Jones is they got him so late that you're not paying hardly even normal quarterback money. I mean, that's a huge win. Even if he is Matt Ryan or not quite Matt Ryan.
You're in great shape.
You're in great shape salary cap wise. I mean, you've got teams playing quarterbacks like a third of your cap, and you're going to be paying him really low rookie scout money. So that's a huge win.
Yeah. And last but definitely not least, we have a lot of friends that are Bears fans. And if I were a Bears fan, I would be over the moon to get Justin Fields where they got him. I was thinking about this because we keep trying to have my friend Alex on, and I don't do a good job of reaching out to him. But he's 34. In his lifetime, the best Bears quarterback is like a year and a half of Jay Cutler, which is tough. I mean, you're a Titans fan. They're not exactly like quarterback pipeline, but you've had McNair and Tannehill and
I mean, even Vince Young looked okay for a stretch.
yeah, okay. But
Jake Locker.
Jake Locker. Yeah, you've had some lean
It's pleasure. I mean, we had some pleasure.
You had Charlie Whitehurst.
I mean, clipboard Jesus.
Yeah, clipboard.
I mean, the Bears had Sexy Rexy. It wasn't a bad stretch.
He was awful. That's why one of the reasons Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl is because there was no chance Rex Grossman was beating him in a Super Bowl. Correct. So anyhow, yeah, I thought it was an interesting draft. We don't need to go over it a lot more because it's been a week. And then you throw in the Aaron Rodgers stuff, which I think we still don't know what's going to happen there. Pretty interesting time. So yeah, we'll see. But I'm already picking Fields to be Rookie of the Year. So let's go. Or Pitts. Oh man, that offense. If Matt Ryan's okay, they're going to be great. All right.
So many weapons.
We promised this was going to be a shorter one because Kyle's very busy and he has company. So we're going to keep going. And I'm going to text my wife to bring me a computer cord because otherwise this computer is going to die. Never mind. I have one. All right. I was talking with another friend of the podcast, Josh Van Epps, who was texting me today about why there wasn't a podcast up, and it's because we hadn't filmed it yet. And then we started talking about NBA Rookie of the Year. And it's an interesting year because a lot of the guys are playing a lot. Like if you look at the first round, I saw a guy do a breakdown. There's only 4 guys that were drafted in the first round that aren't getting significant minutes on their team, which is rare. Mm-hmm. But there is not a front runner for Rookie of the Year either, which is also rare. So here's a question. Is the 44 games of LaMelo Ball to you better than the 66 games of Anthony Edwards so far?
To me, yes.
Let me read you some stats. Can I read you some stats?
Yep.
I'm going to pull these straight from Josh Van Epps, who sent them to me today. Go ahead. Go. Give me your thoughts first.
Well, to me, yes, Anthony Edwards has had a sensational second half, but are the T-Wolves winning? Still no, not even close. And you have another arguable superstar, not superstar, but legit star on that team in Towns, and they're still one of the worst teams in the NBA, which is egregious. But I mean, that roster is pretty rough, but it shouldn't be. They should not be this bad. I mean, LaMelo Ball has been sensational when he's played, and he hadn't missed that many games. I mean, roughly 20. Look how bad the Hornets have been for how long. And between him and Gordon Hayward have completely turned around that franchise this year. To me, the winning has to be factored in. Sure.
Well, that was my argument. I actually would pick Anthony Edwards because he's played 66 games and LaMelo Ball's played 44. And that's a large gap. Here's the stats, the counting stats right now. 66 and 44 games. Edwards plays 1.8 minutes, 18.9 points, 4.7 rebounds, 2.8 assists, whatever. Steals and blocks are negligible. LaMelo, 28.7 minutes, 15.9 points, 5.9 rebounds, 6.1 assists. More steals, blocks are the same. Put it to you this way. If you gave me the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft, I would take LaMelo if you could redraft the draft. I would not pick Anthony Edwards second. I would probably pick him third. I would pick Halliburton second. And if Halliburton hadn't gotten hurt, actually would be my pick for Rookie of the Year, even though no one's going to vote for him. Edwards is not a winning player yet. He does nothing to make anyone better. He's a sensational athlete that averages 4.7 rebounds in 32 minutes a game. It's unacceptable. He doesn't pass. He's a black hole. He's the antithesis of the guy you want to play with. And LaMelo is the guy you want to play with. Sees the floor, spreads it around. This is unbelievable, but he has been hurt a lot. So I would give it to Anthony Edwards, but the best rookie when he has played is LaMelo. That's my thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I get what you're saying with the 20 games missed compared to playing 60, but Has Anthony Edwards made his team better in those 60 games? In my opinion, no. I'd take 40 games of LaMelo over 60 of Anthony Edwards.
Well, I would too, but the award is not going to get voted that way, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it actually will be pretty close between the two of them. I don't really think there's even anyone else that's even close with Halliburton getting hurt and Quickly's minutes going down since Derrick Rose. I mean, speaking of a point guard that's made a huge impact, since Derrick Rose has gotten to the Knicks, they have been one of the best plus minuses in like a century. It's been insane. So, but yeah, my money is still on Ball just because, I mean, he's basically doing what Jokic is doing when he's playing. He's facilitating the entire offense.
Let's not
His
get
passes
carried away
are
now.
super quick.
Jokic is going to win the MVP running away.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah, it's not. All right, last thing with the NBA. Josh, I hope you're satisfied with that segment. Playoff matchups real quick. The East is not as interesting. It would be assuming everything holds serve with the play-in. By the way, I think the Wizards are going to find a way into the 8th seed. Mm-hmm. But right now, as it sets, Philly would play a play-in team. It's the Hornets if everything holds. Brooklyn playing the Heat, which is kind of a sneaky, awesome first-round matchup. Bucks Celtics, that feels like a walkover to me. Knicks Hawks, which is our young upstart teams. Anything jump out to you there before we move to the West, where it's really interesting right now?
I think the Nets series would be super fun, even though the Heat have not figured it out at all this year. I mean,
35 and 31.
Hero's been terrible. Ugh. It's been fairly disappointing. Butler has been sneaky awesome this year, though.
And Adebayo has been good lately.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's shooting under 30% from three, but he's been insanely efficient. So the Knicks Hawks, I actually would be excited for that series. Those teams are actually really fun to watch. I mean, I don't think a lot of people are watching them unless you're a fan in those markets, but the Hawks have an insane amount of offense. That's like 10 deep. And the Knicks, what Randall has done this year, he should be first or second team All-NBA.
We're going to do our All-NBA teams next week. I just decided that. Okay. So we'll see. But yes, I don't think he's first team, but I think he has a pretty good case for second team. So, yeah. Okay, so that's the East. You still think it's the Nets?
I think it's Nets or Bucks.
Yeah, we've kind of, even though the Sixers have won 6 in a row, we've kind of put them on the back burner.
I still just don't trust Embiid to stay healthy for a month and a half.
No, sad but true.
And their last 4 minutes of every game is so painful to watch because Simmons is essentially a non-factor, and you're relying on Tobias Harris to generate shots, which he's fine, but he's going to be the 6th best player on the court at that time in a good series. I mean,
no, it's troubling. All right, let's go to the West. You have the Jazz as a 1 seed. They would, if everything holds, they would play the Grizzlies. Although I feel like the Warriors will find a way to sneak in. I don't know. We'll see. Feels like Steph in play-in games is like guaranteed to go off. So let's say Jazz Grizzlies just for fun. Suns Blazers is the 2-7 right now. I think the Blazers will beat whoever they play in the play-in, if assuming that the Lakers don't end up in it. Nuggets Lakers is 3-6 right now, and then Clippers Mavs, but it's a log jam with Dallas, Los Angeles, and Portland. They're all separated by half a game, so who knows? But from that, or if things move around a little bit, what would you be most interested to see in the first round?
I think Jazz Grizzlies would be a really fun series, and actually a really good series. With the Grizz actually getting healthy, Jaren Jackson Jr., the Triple J is back and looking really good. Ja Morant has played better of late.
He had a great game last night.
I think that would be a really fun series. And people sleep on the Jazz, even though they're the 1 seed this year. This team is awesome.
Yeah, they are.
Probably you have 2 of the best 6 men of the year candidates.
I'm listening.
I still don't fully believe in them, but I think this team is going to make it at least interesting, I think, for both LA teams in the West.
See, I disagree. I actually think the Warriors are going to sneak in on the 8th seed and scare the Jazz to death. Couldn't you see Curry just putting Gobert in a million pick and rolls and doing whatever he wants? I know that that team is garbage, their roster. But
I could see Curry putting on a show, but there's just too many weapons for the Jazz, and
you're probably right.
If Curry doesn't go off for 50, they lose.
You're probably right. The interesting thing is you have a real looming possibility of Clippers Lakers in the first round in a number of different scenarios. And that's a nightmare for both those teams.
And a real bummer if you're a fan
And a
of
real
good basketball.
bummer because you'd like to see that be the Western Conference Finals, honestly.
Yep. I mean, I hate them both, and I would think it was hilarious, and it would still be a bummer because I want to see both of those teams play multiple rounds.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're the Lakers, what you really want is the Clippers to get to the 3 seed. They're tied with the Nuggets right now, 3 and 4. And the Nuggets to come down to the 4. And then if you're the Lakers, you want to get to the 5 and play the Nuggets and then theoretically the Jazz and let the Suns and Clippers duke it out. I think that's what you want, but there's a lot of basketball left yet, and it's tight. So
yeah, the one thing that's disappointing to me is obviously the Jamal Murray injury and Will Barton injuries. I mean, both of those guys were playing out of their minds. The Nuggets are still winning games, which is just testament to how good Nikola Jokic is.
Man.
The year that he's having is essentially Larry Bird, and it's insane from
crazy.
Bird's best MVP year. So they're insanely fun to watch, and the evolution of Michael Porter Jr. into a basically high 20s scorer per game, doing it efficiently, it's been really, really impressive to watch. They could still make a run, honestly.
They really could. I don't know how much you remember about that draft. That draft, in retrospect, is really interesting. 2018 draft. So, of course, it's the draft where the Suns take Ayton and then the Kings take Bagley. And then essentially the Hawks take Trae Young because they trade Doncic. They take Doncic with the 3rd pick and they trade him to the Mavericks. And then in the middle there is Jaren Jackson. Trae Young actually ends up being the 5th pick. So you have a disaster for the Suns and the Kings because Doncic is unbelievable. But then the whole talk of the rest of the draft is where does Porter Jr. go? Because he's clearly talented enough to be a top 10 pick, but his medicals were so bad that teams didn't take him. So let's go over the rest of these picks. 6 through 10 is a mess. Mo Bamba is 6. Wendell Carter
still
is
only
7.
22.
Yeah, as we heard on the Bill Simmons podcast today. Wendell Carter goes 7. They're now teammates. Colin Sexton, who is an interesting player but a black hole beyond words, goes 8. Kevin Knox goes 9.
That's the worst pick of the draft.
That's tough. Mikal Bridges, who was a good player, who's a Sixers, promptly traded to Phoenix, which is a mess because that's exactly the guy the Sixers have been needing for years. And then,
and at the time, his mom worked for the organization.
Yeah, it's it's unbelievable, almost unforgivable. And then the 11th pick, so 6 through 10, there's really there's no stars there. 11 is Shai, who the Hornets promptly trade to the Clippers, another disastrous trade. 12 is Miles Bridges, which whatever. But he basically gets traded for Shai, which is a mess for Charlotte. And then 13 is Jerome Robinson to the Clips. They could have come out of that draft with Shai and Michael Porter, and now they have Paul George and Jerome Robinson. And 14 then is Michael Porter Jr. And that's unbelievable that Denver got to take him and stash him. And they still have Bol, who they've kind of stashed away, who might still be good. And then the rest of the first round is a disaster. Troy Brown, Zaire Smith, Dante DiVincenzo, Lonnie Walker, Kevin Huerter, Josh Okogie. There's nothing after that pick to get excited about.
Huerter is the best of that group, probably.
Yeah, it's not great. And so he was really the last good pick in the draft, ultimately. And for him to go to a team that already had Jokic and Murray is unbelievable. So congrats to them for that. Anyhow, that was a little rabbit hole that I did not plan on going down, but here we are. So that's NBA. You want to add anything else? I'm excited for the playoffs. I've watched very little regular season because I don't have time for that. But.
Yeah, I haven't watched much the last couple of weeks. I was told that the Nets-Bucks series was awesome the last 2 games this week, and I haven't watched a second of it, so I've got nothing else.
All right. I have a few quick MLB thoughts. First of all, today, Albert Pujols got released.
Sad day.
Yeah, it is. And it's been coming. And he's probably older than 41. honestly. There's been a lot of speculation about that. So there may be a real reason. But between him and Miguel Cabrera, who's hitting 105, we're going to do a quick funeral for big sluggers who were people who are not going to remember how unbelievable they were because of how badly it's ended.
Probably.
Oh, you're frozen.
Two best hitters.
There you are.
And we're back.
You're back.
You were frozen as well.
I'm not going to edit that.
I got a notification that my internet connection is unstable, so that's great.
Yeah, great. Kind of like this podcast. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say those are probably the two best pure offensive players that I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, I slightly remember the end of Bonds. I was
but that was steroid induced. I was actually going to make a point about that. It's actually really heartwarming to see sluggers age the way you're supposed to age. Mm-hmm. Because growing up, we grew up with sluggers that got better as they got older than me, which is absurd.
Yep.
And as their heads got bigger, the home runs and walks kept going up.
Placido Polanco effect.
Yeah. So I'm it's kind of nice, but Pujols is the best hitter of our generation. And I mean, he was at one point, you go look at his stats before he gets to the Angels, and it's like, so he was he was on a higher trajectory than Mike Trout is right now. And that's saying something. Now, granted, Mike Trout adds up the WAR because of his defense and his base running and all that, and it's well deserved. But so anyhow, I just wanted to say that Miguel Cabrera hit a home run that killed the Indians on opening day and has no hits since. So speaking of the Cleveland Indians, first place Cleveland Windians just got off a 4-game sweep of the Royals today and is in first place. And the White Sox keep losing all their guys, which is losing me money, baseball card wise, but is making my day in real life. So anyhow, your Twins. Oh boy.
Buxton got hurt today. They lost
their
third to the Rangers, and I'm just beyond caring.
Yeah, it's tough. I did want to mention it still looks like Trout and Acuna should be the favorites to win MVPs. I think those are your best player in each league for the next 3 or 4 years still. I should also mention Wander Franco has raked in the first couple of games of minor leagues, so that's very exciting to me. And they have a bunch of guys hurt on the Rays. I hope he's up soon. We didn't mention Madison Bumgarner's no-hitter. True or false? That should have been considered a no-hitter, even though it was only 7 innings.
I think true. He didn't have the opportunity to pitch any more innings. I mean, to me, he did literally everything he could do.
Look, the game was mandated to be 7 innings. It's a no-hitter. Mm-hmm. Make the games 9 innings, you cowards. We're fine now. We're not losing a bunch of guys to COVID anymore. Everybody's vaccinated. It should all be 9 innings. Come on, it's ridiculous. So
I do kind of like the 7-inning doubleheaders. I'm not gonna lie, but
I hate them. It's fine. We need to argue about some things sometimes. So the Dodgers have lost 13 of 17. What is happening?
The Giants are winning that division.
And I'm eating a Starburst on a podcast.
Yeah. Some of my over-under picks look so bad right now. It is astounding. So I'm just going to leave that out there.
Yeah, I don't understand the Dodgers thing. They should be good. They got Betts back. He's not hitting. Seager's not hitting now. I don't know. They're a weird team. They should be better. But I don't know. All right, that's it. We're supposed to be done. So
yep.
You have any feeling fiasco for this week? I got a funny one that people are going to think less of me after I tell it. So go ahead.
I'll be really quick. So as you know, we've been doing some renovations. Part of that was outside of the house. And if anyone of our listeners has ever been to my house, we had this really weird steel, massive bench with a steel cover over it, leading out over the river on these metal girders. So Amanda has been wanting me to cut this out for a long time. We got a grinder, so I'm out there just grinding away at this stupid metal contraption for hours. I almost cut my leg off. It was horrendous. And I finally get it off, and this thing probably weighs a couple 100 pounds. And I'm going to lean it off of the steel part onto our cement dock area. And I realize I'm going to land it right on my phone, and my phone's going to be between cement and this huge metal contraption. So I'm like, oh no, go to reach over, wind catches it, and I am hanging on for dear life, about to fall backwards in the river and then get crushed by this steel thing.
Oh, jeez.
And I hucked it back. So yeah, almost died. Amanda's watching this from the deck as she's painting the deck, thinking that she's about to call the ambulance. And yeah.
You can like pay people to do stuff like that.
Yeah. Pride.
Okay. This one comes from our childhood. It's not one I'm proud of, but it's a funny story. So Kyle used to be, it transferred to me at some point, but used to be easily scared of the dark and so on. So one night he had slept in his own room in the corner of our house. And one night while he was getting ready for bed, I hid in his closet. And I waited for Mom to tuck him in. And he was pretty young. I don't know what, 7, 8, something like that.
Probably.
And then I waited for a little bit longer. And then I started making ridiculous noises and pounding on the doors of the closet. And as you would be, he was very scared. And then I got a severe tongue lashing from Mom, which I deserved, obviously. And then probably got walloped by Kyle the next day and probably deserved that one too. So
well, we did actually get you back for
it's
that.
true. I was going to tell this as a tandem, but I'll let you tell it instead.
So Jesse is at a friend's house. I don't even remember what friend it was. And we didn't know this. Dad and I were, we used to like hang out we'd make like a porch bed on the outside of our porch and look up at the stars, try to find constellations and stuff. So we're out there hanging out, talking.
Hippie stuff.
And hippie stuff, yep. I think it was probably 420. And we're looking up and watching the stars.
Yeah, the big pot smoker, if you didn't know, everybody.
Yeah, that's why I moved to Iowa, be a little bit more one in nature. So we're looking up and we're just hanging out, and we see Jesse drive by. Like we see him drive really, really slow. We see the lights come up, and he pulls up, and Dad decides to mess with him. He just goes, Jesse. What we didn't know is that Jesse had just watched a horror movie, and if you've ever watched any scary movies with Jesse, you know he's a massive wuss.
It's true.
So he had watched Saw, right? Saw, the first Saw
something movie? I don't even remember.
Yeah,
probably only half watched it, I'll be honest.
And he gets out of his car, hears Dad, gets back in his car and drives away. Like, what is happening? Where is he going? He ends up coming back, just like slinks in with it. If you can drive a car with the tail between your legs, that's how we do it.
All of this is true. I don't know what to tell you. And part of that story is not true. No one was saying my name. Kyle was in on this. They were both making ridiculous noises. I got in the car and I realized, like, what's my plan here? I obviously have to go home. So anyhow, yeah,
just drive it off.
It was a drive of shame. So anyhow, those are our family fiascos for the week. I hope you enjoy this as much as we do. I know our sister is going to enjoy watching those. She told me that she doesn't listen to any of the rest of it, but she skips to the end so she can hear it.
So that she told me that at dinner today, and I told her we're going to start putting Family Fiasco randomly throughout the episode.
Yeah, you have to find it.
Listen to the whole thing.
All right, you have any recs for us this week?
Yep, I got the traditional TV, traditional movies. So the first it's an anthology series, and only watch season 1. It's called The Terror, and it is not actually really that scary, but it's kind of based on true events. Sir John Franklin is his expedition in 1845 to find the Northwest Passage with the HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, and it's about them getting stuck in the ice, and it is really, really good. It's fairly intense, but it's fantastic.
You love people getting stuck in the cold. You had the guy that lost his foot a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
All right, so that's a TV show?
It's a TV show. It's on AMC. You can watch it on Hulu.
Okay, which I have. Go ahead.
Movie. We're going a whole franchise, and we're sticking with the sci-fi from last week as well. The Alien franchise. Go watch all of them. They're not actually that scary at all. They're so good. The very first Alien, by far the best. Aliens is the second movie. It's very, very good. Alien 3, we're really going downhill fast. And then you get Alien versus Predator and AVP 2, and they're horrendous. But then with the comeback, Prometheus, pretty good movie. And then Alien Covenant, so-so, but still worth a watch. If you like sci-fi, you got to give them a watch. This is the Alien, the original one, is probably the best sci-fi horror movie of all time. And it's really not that scary, next to maybe The Thing, the original, John Carpenter. Fantastic.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with a classic movie and a TV show that is more of a cult classic. The TV show, this is a sports podcast. The League was on FX. It's loosely about fantasy football, but it's really just about life. and it's a great cast of characters, and it's hilarious. It's very funny. So you should watch that. We're still watching Arrested Development. Every time I watch it, I think it's better. You should watch that too. And we started the next season of Handmaid's Tale, and it's still as depressing as anything I've ever seen, but it's so good. Okay, movie. This is everybody's probably seen this, but it's so good I had to mention it. Gladiator.
Ooh.
Just a classic, awesome movie. You should see that. That's all. It's just
Russell
good.
Crowe at his
Russell
peak.
Crowe at his peak. There's another Russell Crowe movie where he breaks his wife out of jail that I actually love, and it was not an acclaimed movie at all, but it's I think it's really good, and I don't remember the name, and I'm not looking it up. So good luck. Go look at his
Good,
film.
good
You'll
luck
find
finding
it.
that. It's a good movie. It is a good movie. He's literally wants to be in jail. It's
Is
great.
it no, I can't remember.
It's
I
not
can't remember what
Inside
it's
Man,
called.
but
No,
it's,
by the way,
something along those lines.
there is a movie that is kind of similar with a guy that looks similar to Russell Crowe that has Gerard Butler called Enemy of State that is friggin' terrible. Don't watch that movie. It's no good. We saw it in theater, and Emily is kind of she's not that, those kind of like super gory, gross, but like realistic movies, not really for her. And I also found it like, it was like a realistic movie, but every preview was a horror movie. And we were like, oh boy, here we go. And it was a mess. It was not a very good movie, and there was not really a redeeming part in any of the movies. So don't watch that one. It's terrible.
That's a great
Another movie
recommendation.
that will make you feel gross is Paul Walker, Running Scared. That movie will make you want to throw up. Don't watch that one either. R.I.P. Paul Walker. All right, I'm done. Are you done?
I'm done. Ready for bed.
Me too. I got a lot of work to do this weekend. All right, tell Annie and Austin I said hi.
We'll do.
See ya.